man. This is number 3.
What was that dance you just did?
I have to do that sometimes when I'm over at the bar DJing to make it seem like I know what I'm doing.
What is it though? Is that like a fist?
You're just hype, man. What have you been doing this week? Anything? How's your week gone so far?
It's been going really, really good. What about yourself? Anything?
Easy.
You know, we kind of missed a week. I told the fans that we would give them a better explanation on the show. Like I said, me, Max, and Mike, episode 3, making an impact. And today we'll be talking about the COVID era, how COVID affected yourself, myself, wrestling in general, but most importantly, Impact Wrestling and your experience at Impact. And the other thing that we'll be covering is what came from the COVID era, and that's Wrestle House. But yeah,
Lawrence.
Yeah, my week's been great. I just lived a regular life, man. I'm not exciting like you are.
Man, I want to do that. Yeah. How's that treat you? No, I mean, it's been a week of like rebuild, reassess, recreate something new.
That just seems like your lifestyle. You constantly are, we talk about it, going outside the box and rebuilding, just always getting bigger and better.
I kicked all the students out of the academy, as you know.
Yes, I'm well aware of that.
And then we picked back up Sunday with the restarts, and I feel like it was good. I think it was much needed, and just not just in wrestling, but life. Sometimes you realize that you go a track, and then, maybe it's not working, you swing, and then you might fucking... you hit a home run somewhere else, and then you're like, well, shit, I'm pretty good at hitting a home run on the left side. That right side hadn't treated me well. So that's it. We had to do that with the school. We had to take back, like I said Sunday, I had to take back control of things that I didn't like and how they went. And I feel like we're off to the right start again. For sure. But that's the first time in 20 fucking years I had to, kick students out all the way, completely shut it down.
Sometimes you get comfortable. We talked about that, that you're not a guy that just gets comfortable and just rests on that. And I think that sometimes, even in a student environment, that you get comfortable and you think, well, this is what I've got, and I can always come back to it. And I think that it was taken advantage of. And,
I think the problem...
reel them in a little bit.
The problem is that I'm so caring. I allow them to live at school as they would live at home, and that's not correct. What you do at home is fine, but I don't know, sometimes we just get comfortable with each other, and it's much easier for them to, or you or me to maybe take advantage of you and do something that I wouldn't do to someone else, because I care about you so much. I don't think it would bother you as much if I didn't show up for you. I love you anyway. I feel like that's kind of where we was at with the school, and it don't work that way. I'm teaching pro wrestlers, you're teaching pro wrestlers. I'm not teaching a hangout. I'm teaching, hopefully something that's going to make them a very good living in years to come. So we must take it pretty serious, and we had to just pull them back a little bit, and I feel good about it.
Yeah, well, you're always giving back. You take the knowledge that you learn from Impact or all over the world. You've been to some pretty cool places and always constantly learning. You always bring that back and you give it to the students. You give it to the guys that we work with on the different shows we go around to. And I think it's really cool because our atmosphere is a little different. It's not just like, hey, you pay your tuition and it's just a pro wrestling school and, I'll see you on Tuesday or I'll see you on Wednesday for 2 hours. And outside of that, you can message me, but I'm going to see that message and, hey, we'll talk in class. We really care, and that is sometimes to our detriment, that we care so much that we are constantly given 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of any knowledge we have. We're always trying to help people not make mistakes that we have or not go down some of the roads that we had to go down to learn the right way.
I think it might scare the shit out of people when they hear, damn, some of the sacrifices, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that. And it might be a little overwhelming.
Well, so we talked about it last week with going, hey, what do you really want? What are you willing to do to get it? It's easy to say, oh, this is what I want. I want it more than anything. We always make that joke that there's always that guy that's like, I would give my left nut to make it in this business. And the thing is you can say anything. You can even convince yourself that what you're saying is reality, that this is true. But at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, I think, and this is with anything, not just with professional wrestling, sometimes you have to really self-evaluate and deep inside your heart if this is something you really want.
Right. Well, I think that's on both ends, too. And that's something that I did some self-reflection because, you know me. It's like I can't say anything in regards to the other side without looking at myself first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think prior, I was like, why? If you came to my academy, is you had to make it to the next level. Like that was, if you're not here for that, then you don't need to be here. And I thought that for the longest time because that's truly how I feel.
Yeah.
But also I need to self-check and think, man, not everyone does it like me. Not everyone does it like you, but at the end of the day, we all have the love for pro wrestling and I love to teach it. And if someone wants to learn it and only do it in a couple counties for a decade and talk the rest of their life about how great it was, hey, I can't knock that.
No.
But I'll tell you what really lights me up is to see when people like a Kellen Craven from our academy that's going out there and's hungry and he's traveling the roads by himself with a carload, spending money, losing money, making money. That's what I like to see. Those are the type of kids I like to see come through there.
We were talking about the love of professional wrestling. People don't really understand, and never would I expect them to, when they're like, well, why do you do what you do? I had mentioned it, I think, in the last episode where Jeff Jarrett said that, if you love it, you don't need an explanation, and if you don't get it or you don't love it, no explanation will ever do. We're like a live performance art. We give of our body. We go out there and we put on a show, and we are telling our story and giving those people something that they get from watching a movie or reading a book or watching TV. They get that same experience from us. We take them on that journey for however long we're out there, and for some shows, an entire show will do it. But the thing is that when it's all said and done, we don't just say cut and then like a stunt double jumps in and they take the falls for us. We are throwing ourselves on the mat, and we are running our heads into corners. And for anybody else, when they hear that, it's like, why? Why would you do that? And I won't even go into the explanation of how we bleed. It definitely isn't like a blood packet or a ketchup bottle.
It's funny, though, is like, you're like, man, I can't wait till this weekend. This weekend dough season comes in. I was like, well, what the fuck are you doing with dough season? And they're like, well, I'm gonna go pour some piss over myself that I can buy at Walmart. It smells like deer piss.
I usually got to pay extra for that.
And then I'm gonna go buy this 50-pound feed sack of drawing in, and it's going to be 30 degrees and this, that, and another. I'm like, well, why in the fuck would you do that? And then they look at me and I'm like, well, why in the fuck would you hit the mat? Why would you get your head run into the buckle? Why would you, all that's just, I think it's what we love. Those, I think anything as a child, whether it be hunting, fishing, wrestling, basketball, once you get bit by something that entices you, and once it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about you, but you're going to fucking do that because that's what makes you happy. That's what makes you happy.
Yeah, Steve Austin said it. It's the greatest drug in the world.
It really is.
And you can never get enough. There ain't no alcohol.
Yeah.
There ain't no drug out there that's like that addiction of being in that ring, coming through that curtain. And that's what I love. I love when our students get to experience that, or when I see the light come on to where somebody that didn't quite get it, now they get it. And now they know that not only just the feeling, but being able to control that crowd, to control that audience, and to, when you want them up, they're up. When you want them down, they're down. When you want them to think you're going right and you go left and they go insane, that feeling, I get goosebumps even just thinking about it, because I know I've been in there and I've experienced that, and we've seen guys that they're like, well, I don't get it. They'll hear us, call a match or talk through something, and we'll go 100 miles an hour, and they'll look at us like deer in the headlights. Like, what did you just say, and how did you do that? And then when they get to that point to where they can do the same things that we're doing, and also that they're experiencing what they've seen us experience or what we've talked about it, and they haven't quite felt it yet. And then when they finally, like you said, it's that bite, and you can't get enough.
You can't get enough of it.
As I always tell people that, look down the line, look at everybody that's ever, we talk about making it. And so if we do the generic term of making it, if you look at like the tops in the business, Hogan, Cena, Flair, Rock, all these guys that you can think of, almost all of them have been through some kind of divorce. Mm-hmm. They've been through hardship. They've got, their backs are out, their legs are gone. Hulk Hogan talked about in his book that at one point in time, and think about this is the biggest star in wrestling. Me and you grew up during the Hulkamania era. And I mean, if you go, okay, who's one of the top wrestlers in the world? At least for the longest time, and I think any pure fan will go, "Oh, Hulk Hogan,
Hulk Hogan's a man." Even like people will look at Goldberg.
Yeah.
No offense, no knock on Goldberg.
No.
But he's very, he's obviously is a statue in the industry. But some people just love the fact that he just mauled through motherfuckers and they think he's the GOAT. And I can't say that, in their eyes they're wrong, but me, I can't say, well, man, fucking Goldberg's the greatest to ever lace boots. I can't say that.
I don't. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I really think when you look at all these names that I was talking about, and the hardships they go through, there is nobody that gets what they want and gets to the top without sacrifice.
Shit.
And you get there and you lose a lot to get.
Look at what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Look at the sacrifices that you got to make through that whole COVID, mess that we had there.
And that's what I was getting to with I was talking about Hogan in that book had said that, he literally had a gun and he wanted to kill himself. I don't know if he was going to put it in his mouth. You know that I've went through a situation. My mom did that. So that lets me know that I've had a lot of time to sit and think about, why people do that type of stuff, and to think that the biggest star in the world, the guy that's achieved everything that everybody wants, the making it guy, he literally had no reason to live. I mean, obviously he did. He goes on, but in his mind for a second, he thought this is it.
I think that we as entertainers and we as fans, fans sometimes just think, these are immortal beings. There's nothing wrong in their life,
especially when you call yourself the immortal.
And then sometimes it's hard to realize, like, man, we're real people. We fight the same struggles of the same bills. We fight the same struggle of, we argue with our wives, probably a little more than the regulars because of our schedules and our busy lives. So, you have to take into consideration of everything that goes on is like, even those on the highest of mountain are weak at times. And I don't want to call it weak. I can't say it weak. That's not a good way to word it. But you know what I'm saying? Just sometimes you have to realize that, hey, man, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. I just remember, when you're growing up, not just like celebrities, obviously they look like a big deal because they're everyone's portrayed as a big deal.
Yes.
Like if someone's a celebrity, they have been made larger than life,
Yes.
and you look at them and you're a fan of them. But even on like a smaller level, I can remember like growing up and you think that your parents have everything figured out. And you look at them and they're your hero. I know you talk a lot about like your dad. Your dad's your hero. But the more that you look at it as you get older, you start to realize that that's from the eyes of a child, or that's from the eyes of an outsider. Parents, celebrities, all people they're just regular people.
My dad was always like up there, but like until I had a family of my own and bills of my own and my own paychecks and struggles, it's like you really don't realize how big of a hero my dad was growing up, right? Because it's tough, and he made it. So yeah, man, I can't put into words what it's like to see our bills, their bills, and everything growing up, and seeing on this side of things as a dad myself. You really respect that, and your heroes come to light later in life.
It's like whether a celebrity or your parents. You come to the realization eventually when you're older and you look from a different perspective that they're just human beings and they're just trying to, they've got their, they get up and they tie their shoes the same way that we do and they make mistakes and they're just trying to live their life and make the right decisions that they can. And, in a parent's perspective is like, man, I'm just trying not to screw these kids up. I'm telling them what kind of like we were talking about with our students. Yeah. They're kind of like our kids, and we try to tell them what we've done wrong or things that they can do so that they don't make mistakes in life. And, it's the same thing that our parents do. They just try and guide us. But these heroes, all of them, they're just normal human beings trying to get through the world.
Yeah, man. You have to be considerate of that at times. You know? Sometimes those that are the rock needs a little support themselves.
That's it, man. Go ahead and give us a plug for the school. Let's go ahead and get the information out.
Oh,
since
yeah,
we
for
talked
sure.
about
It's
it.
Legends Pro Wrestling Academy over there in Cynthiana, Kentucky, 101 Hingston. We train every Sunday. You can email me at legendsprowrestlingacademy@gmail.com or simply send a message to the Facebook page or reach out to me directly, and we'll be more than happy to get you set up where you need to be.
Yeah, and I get a lot of people that are always asking about like the tuition and what goes into it. Maybe we go ahead and just cover that now.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's $300 down and $100 per month. It's pretty simple. It's just like a gym membership. You just go and you know, sometimes we have camps, sometimes we have seminars, shows, schools, everything, you name it, we got it. You know, it teaches everything there is about pro wrestling.
Yeah, and let them know, you know, because a lot of people just go, I want to be a wrestler. And sometimes you get, like, I get it a lot of times at the shows.
Right.
After it's over, they're so on fire from what they saw, and they're like, I can do that. And usually those people aren't serious, but you will get messages from random people. Until we meet them, we don't know what their intentions are. So maybe just let the people out there listening know what it actually takes to be a professional wrestler, at least in the Legends Pro Wrestling Academy. Like
definitely,
what they're going to have to expect.
I think that you should expect to have a good attitude, because we don't bid well with the bad attitude. You'll find that you either change to a good attitude or you'll find yourself a different school. You know, I feel that come in, you should expect some tough skin, but you should also expect, you know, a hug and shoulder as well. You know, we are a family. I think that we're there to get the very best of you, not only as a pro wrestler, but just as a person in general. I think that's a difference. A lot of people think that pro wrestling school, you just come learn hip tosses. Well, here, you know, you notice I get on these big, long tirades there before class that's 45 minutes long at times.
Because that's you connecting to the person, not just that, okay, let's get in here and learn a hip toss.
It's because at that point in time, the bigger lesson might come from outside of that wrestling ring that has nothing to do with wrestling that I have to get out at that time. It's just the way that I'm set up. Is like, if I know that you come to me with a hardship as big or small, and I have an idea, I can't, as little as it is, I can't not say, hey, well, what if you tried this? Or, you know, what if you done this? You know, and I might not have zero experience. I can just go off of what comes to my mind as to how it could get better. Yeah. And that's what I do. I can't help, you know, I just want to see people do well in life, and enjoy pro wrestling along the way.
We talk about it all the time, and we just say, we want you to become your very best you possible, and to get out of wrestling what it is that you want to get out of wrestling.
That's the God's honest truth.
That's it. Leaving wrestling better than we found it. You know, it's a great little catchphrase, but at the end of the day, it's not just trying to sell memberships. I want people there that want to be there.
I like that, and plus we kind of give them on-the-job training. Is when they're ready, you know me, man. I try to get them out there, and you know, I'm in touch with promotion, bookers, owners, you name it. You know, I always try to get them booked. You try to get them booked. We always try to get these guys and girls the most opportunity possible with not only our shows, but the connections that we've made throughout the last 20 years as well.
Hey, that's it. We're always trying to give back, and we're going to give back right now. We were talking about booking. I booked a couple commercials here. Boy. I can't wait to hear them. We're going to go to break right now, and we're going to get back, and we're going to get to the heart of the matter. We're going to talk about some COVID-19, how it affected the world, how it affected you, me, pro wrestling, Impact, and then we're going to get into some Wrestle House.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to SkullFace Records Radio. You guys want to help and maybe own some of your own SkullFace Records merch? Dude, we got mad CDs for $10 a piece. CDs like the Next to Nothing Valenian Split, Brian Himes' 2020 release with SkullFace Records, my newest release, Nick Nasty, Ryan the Lion, the Kentucky's Underground, comp series 1 through 6. Those are available right now. $10 shipped straight to your door. Swamped and Ashy, One Part Madness, Anonymous, Cannibalistic Death Cult, Also, at SkullFace Records, we have a whole bunch of cool shirts that are going to be available for $15 shipped. Now, we had a lot of overstock, so the custom colors might not be exactly what you want, but they're $15 shipped right now. Hit me up on Facebook or at nichimes@gmail.com to make your orders now. Also, through Lord Thaddeus, we have some patches, we have some stickers available. Like I said, just hit me up on Facebook or at nichimes@gmail.com. That's NICHIMES@gmail.com to make your orders now. Don't forget also to check out all of our shows, our programming, our new music releases, our podcast shows. You can see all that on our YouTube page, all over Facebook. Check out our SkullFace Records Bandcamp. That's skullfacerecords.bandcamp for all of our new music releases. You can download, get the digital side of SkullFace Records through our Bandcamp. Thanks. This is Nick Nasty, and thanks for tuning in to SkullFace Records Radio. SkullFace Records.
All right, we're back. I love those commercials, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, I always go
Shout out
back.
SkullFace Records.
That's it. I always go back after the show, and I like to watch the commercials.
Yeah.
And I listen to the whole thing, just see how we did. I always look at the comments. Feel free, do a like, subscribe, comment. Send in your questions. We got a lot of questions we're going to get to later on Ask Larry Anything. You know, I want to double back on something I was talking about earlier because I didn't go in a lot of detail, and that was for a reason. We missed last week's show. We kind of ran a little bit late, and I told the people I would let them know what was going on, and we had some of our people in production actually caught COVID-19, and it made it to where we couldn't get into the studio, and it's a worldwide epidemic, and a lot of people are like, the masks are off and it's over, but no, it's amping back up.
It's amping back up.
It hit us here, and it actually made for a great segue into what we're talking about today. We're talking about the COVID-19 era. It's not quite over, but you go to Impact Wrestling and you get there and there's people everywhere and there's the giant production and it's like nothing you've ever experienced before. And then COVID hits and now you got to do your thing, but you got to do it in front of an empty arena. There's nobody there, and you've got to act and perform and do all this stuff that you're not used to doing. That includes where you can actually just kind of cut in the middle and come back.
Really and
a lot
truly,
of cool things.
That was my boom time, though. Like, my thing is, like, I always got over in front of a live crowd. But that was my boom time, is whenever COVID era was going and just wrestling empty sets, And yeah, you're right. When you go to commercial break, it's like, stop. And then you got your countdown. We're back in 3, 2, and then you're kicking the shit out of them in heat. It's definitely something that I was never thought I would do.
Yeah, little Billy Kayfabe out there is going, what do you mean?
Oh my God!
What do you mean? Why did you stop? It's like, well, we're in commercial. It's like when the show fades to black, nothing happens till next week.
Yeah, man.
I watched a Family Guy episode just the other night, and there's a part at the end where Peter's in trouble, and he just starts sitting there. He starts just sitting still, and Lois goes, Peter, what are you doing? And he just sits there. Lois goes, are you waiting for the screen to fade to black? You can't do that. And he just sits there, and all of a sudden it fades to black, and we get the credits.
There you go. Hey, that's the way business works.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
You can always just stop.
Man, it was different. We were talking earlier just about the procedures of even able to get to the studio.
Yeah. Did you prefer the live atmosphere, or do you prefer nobody
without
there?
a shadow of a doubt, the live atmosphere.
And then though, there is no stop. You got to keep going constantly.
No, man. Just the procedures alone of, like, if you remember that time, no one was really on the road. Mm-hmm. I can remember getting on the road and it looked like a scene from The Walking Dead. Right.
There'd be one car and there'd be nobody anywhere around. You'd be driving through Lexington or a big city and you see absolutely nobody.
It was kind of like some Walking Dead shit.
Yeah.
And I remember we would get, you have to get your essential paperwork in order to travel.
And not just there, just everywhere in
everywhere.
the world.
No, I'm talking from in order for me to drive from Kentucky to Tennessee if I were to get pulled over.
Which you've done 100 times.
Yeah.
And now it was like a horror movie. Did you ever think that you would live in a world where people had to wear masks constantly to interact, that the world would shut down, businesses would close, and I never ever, you would think that kind of thing only happens in a movie, and then we live through it.
We live through it. Yeah. It's scary.
But go ahead, you're talking about the protocols and how you get there.
You would have to get your paperwork emailed to you as a Tennessee essential worker for like television production. They deemed it essential. Mm-hmm. And then when you got to a hotel, you would check in. You couldn't go to your room. You go directly up to a wing upstairs. You get your COVID test, you go wait in your room, go back down, and they'd call you, you knew you were good. You go back down, get your bracelet, and go. But if you didn't, you know what I'm saying, or however it works, if you got the call that you were negative or you were positive, you just stay in your fucking room. Yeah. And it was like, even though you couldn't tell who, like they couldn't tell, the company couldn't tell who tested positive. You could look around.
They were just
you could look around in the room and be like, well, that guy's not here, but I seen him, so you know you would just assume that he had COVID.
It's not that he's not booked on this loop. It's he's not.
Exactly.
He ain't leaving that room.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's tough. You as far as like eating, you could not just go to a restaurant, So what I would do is I would just go to the Walmart as soon as I got down there and get everything that I need and just stay in my damn room and go to TV the next few days, and that was it. You really couldn't do anything.
Did you ever have to go through the quarantine process? Did you ever have to be kept off TV?
Well, no. Just when AC got COVID, that was the only time. But as far as now, when he said, "Hey, bro, I just tested positive for COVID," I obviously stayed the fuck away from everyone.
And that was before you guys had even left, right? You didn't get there, and then he got put into a room.
Oh no. He didn't know. Like his test when we got there was not positive, but it was negative. He was good to go. Mm-hmm. And then we got home on a Monday. He called me on Tuesday and said, "Hey, I haven't felt well," or what? Someone that he was around tested positive, and just to be safe, he didn't have any kind of symptoms, none of that. He had passed the test for TV. But, we went home and then got one at home, and it was negative. And then from there, we never really made it back to TV at that point.
Yeah, and it can happen like that. You either get a false positive or a false negative. Sometimes those take-home tests aren't that great. Sometimes you got to go into the hospital. But you never know, and it could be, the plane ride home, anything. You come in contact with somebody for a few seconds, and then you don't have your mask on. Or even you could have your mask on and get it. I know that I had caught COVID, and I was vaccinated.
I remember,
everything, and I'm down for 2 weeks.
You just don't know.
The worst sickness I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, man, it's definitely terrifying at times. I remember my dad. My dad and my mom. They try everything.
And he's a rock, man. He's not trying to get sick because he don't register weakness.
I remember that he thought he had COVID one time, and like cracking his voice, and like he thought he was dead. It's got so many people scared, like that's a death wish. At that time, if you got COVID at above 50, 60 years old, man, like people were just, that's a death wish, But even just killing people down in their teens, 20s, I don't think it shows no prejudice as far as.
And COVID's a bad word. Like some YouTube people, they won't even say it because you'll get demonetized so quickly.
Really?
Yeah. So the thing is hey, we'll say it, and because that's what it is, we're just telling a story.
We can always set up if they demonetize our video, let's just set up like a GoFundMe, and like they can donate to the podcast.
Hey, that's it.
Amp this shit up.
But if you really want to help out the podcast, what you can do is you can watch these commercials.
Yes.
So sit through them. Don't skip ahead because you're gonna miss something, and you never want to miss a thing.
Right.
What they used to say back in the day: "We'll give you the seat, but all you need is the edge." We'll be right back.
It's Joe's Kitchen. Buy your stuff from SkullFace Records. Get off your asses and do it.
SkullFace Records.
So, did you have to, change your way of life? I mean, obviously everybody did, but I mean, as far as wrestling goes, how
Well-
did you feel? You would walk into a locker room, whether it was Impact or whether you're still trying to take independent dates, which a lot of guys did. A lot of guys slowed down. How did you change your lifestyle?
I amped up my dates because I knew that other people would start to take them off, and unfortunately I wasn't financially in a position that I could just take off. It was either not go out and sacrifice myself and not get on these airplanes, or go back out there and weld. But the thing is wherever you go, is you'd see people in dressing rooms, and at that time, man, I wasn't afraid. I'm like, man, you need to put that shit on. Whether you believe in this or not, we're still in this little room here, and like this is my living, and this is so. When I would go home, I would make sure. I mean, I would always make sure everything. I had hand sanitizer in my gear bag. I always had 2 or 3, 4 masks on reserve. You couldn't. A lot of that stuff is I don't want to get my family sick, and so I felt that I'd come home for a day or two and just kind of I would distant but not distant.
Yeah, and you had to stay healthy.
I wanted to make sure that I was good. Yeah, man. That's it. That's the thing. Is like if you're down, you walk on eggshells every week. And, we're like, man, I hope I don't go in here and I have COVID and I don't know about it, and you walk on eggshells every week because it's your living. It's kind of like, I don't know if I'll be able to work this week or not, especially if I fail this test here,
Yeah. How did you have to change up like your in-ring? Or did you change up your in-ring for the difference between no crowd and live crowd?
I don't think I did. I think I just treated it as if there was a crowd there. A lot of guys need that like feel of the crowd, but I don't know. I guess I naturally knew like, well, here's where the crowd would be. Here I know they would come up here, So I think that you got to, when you're watching, or when you're putting your match together, you would think like, how would I portray this as a fan? How me as the wrestler, how would I want to watch this as a fan? And it makes it a little more tough, a little more difficult to, put together. But really and truly, once you got in the zone, the first time that I did an empty set, I was scared to death. It's kind of like riding a bike, but then once you ride the bike and you let your hands go a little bit, it's like, well, fuck, I can ride this thing. And it's like anything else, man. It's no different than when you were training, coming up. When you train, you're training in front of nobody, So now you really got to be good and be able to do that because there's a red light and a television screen.
Yeah. Carl Anderson said he loved Empty Arena. He said because he said those were the shows he could come without going to the gym that morning, without putting on a tan.
Yeah.
He could just put on whatever. He said, because whatever. He's like, there ain't nobody there. He's like, we retape, we go do our thing, and no pressure. No pressure at all. He looked like a rock star because the editors made him look that good.
Because he is a fucking rock star.
That's it. I love Carl Anderson.
Man, he's one of my favorite people. Yes, sir. Him and Gallows both some of my favorite people.
Yeah, I love Gallows. We recently had Gallows in to Gen Next Wrestling, our anniversary show.
Yes, sir.
Before we go any further, I want to kind of touch back. I don't know if this was during the COVID era or if it wasn't, but you had a series that started on July 7th with the Deaners.
Yes.
It was this whole story. This is before Wrestle House, basically the first part of July. So July 7th and July 14th, you had contests with the Deaners, and both times they beat you guys. And the first time they beat you guys, it was, just a match. They win, whatever. Up to this point, they're not particularly pushing you guys as baby faces. They're not really pushing you guys as heels. You guys are just a team, and you're big and you're aggressive, but you just feel the role that you're intended for. But then on the July 14th match, once it's over, you guys lose to the Deaners. You see that you guys you're done with being the team that takes the fall. You finally see a little, mean side. We already talked about you guys are big guys. You're aggressive already, but you attack them after the match, you and AC, and you put the beat down on them. And, most people would say, okay, right there is the first actual indication of what Triple XL is going to be going forward. And this is supposed to be a big, giant heel turn. And you guys are on them, and you make your statement. You leave them laying. We know that going forward, there's not a lot of follow-up there. You would think that right there is the kickoff to something big.
Yeah, I think that was the second missed opportunity that we could have had. I think the first we spoke about last week, where I feel instead of that 4-person tag, we could have like dropped the 3 of them and, not putting us over, but it would have put us over. We needed that steam. I feel like it would have done good business moving forward out of Atlanta. And then they didn't do that. I feel like here we are again. Now we got these 2 big aggressive heels. Here we are, same thing, front and center, biggest tag team, combined weight there. And I feel like we was off to the races. But like you say, it just, we turned on them. And then next thing you know, it was kind of stale again.
After that, it was over, and you guys went into Wrestle House, which we're going to talk
Yeah.
about. And, obviously your animosity continued in Wrestle House, but it was kind of made more of a side story.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, here are these 2 big
Well,
mean
if you
heels. It was
remember-
a comedy type thing.
If you remember that time that Wrestle House came out, think about the time frame when Wrestle House season 1 came out. That's when all of these like big releases. Remember when they was releasing everybody in the WWE, and this is when the Good Brothers had signed, and they had taped Nashville, but Wrestle House was like a secondary, more so for those that didn't have much creative, but it keeps them on TV. That's kind of what well, obviously you had some of the ups that were on the main, but mostly it was just kind of keep those busy while they figure out what they're going to do with the new incoming talent. And it was something I think that they didn't think would take off like it did, and it ended up being something really cool to where they come back to a season 2.
Yeah, it was definitely internet hot. It definitely created a lot of memes. It created a lot of little things that you wouldn't think. It was like an underground swelling of people that there were the people that hated it, and there were the people that loved it. It was just according to if you took yourself or if you took wrestling too serious, which I've been on both sides of the fence, so I understand it. From me watching it, obviously, I really enjoyed it because I just took it for what it was. I understood that it was comedy and it wasn't meant to be taken serious. Give us your opinion. While we're talking about it, you had this series with the Deaners. Tell me about the Deaners. You got Cody Deaner, and you got Jake something.
Yeah. I think
what
Cody
was he, Jake Deaner? Is that what he was?
No,
at the time?
it was cousin Jake.
Yeah, cousin Jake.
Cousin Jake, and man, he's a monster. Like he's big. He's big on TV, but you really don't see how the physical specimen that he is. He reminds me of like someone that probably wouldn't. That's not made like Shane Mercer, right?
Yeah.
He's just fucking jacked.
Very
and
athletic too.
He's athletic.
Like he can get off his feet. He's got jumps. Both very talented guys.
And Cody Deaner, who's seasoned vet, he's been there. He was with Impact many years before. He had got let go. He came back. So seasoned was there for him and the tag team. But he was there to help lead Jake something, I feel. And he did a very good job at that, and they made a decent little tag team. Those are great guys, like some of my favorite people. I know that Jake lives in that gym. Like he and Rohit Raju and Ethan Page, man, they used to go and they would live in that gym. Him and there were 4 of them, Josh Alexander, and man, they would snap pictures outside of every gym. You could tell like they really cared about their bodies.
What did you think about the matches and the team itself?
Oh, the team itself was great. The team itself, I thought they had a good little gimmick. I thought they were over. I'm not sure why the part came or why the split came though. I thought that they could have been, really Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions for a long run, I feel, because they had the potential and they were good enough.
I think that we know that sometimes we see a certain way, fans see a certain way. I'm sure they see a certain way for themselves, but if creative don't see it, from personal experience, if they don't see it, they just don't see it.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
They thought there was more money in the individuals.
You look at Cody now, he's gone with Violent by Design, and he's done well. He's got Eric Young, Joe Doran. I don't know the product as well as I would.
And his backstage stuff even more, because he's an agent, right?
Yes, he's a very good agent, too. I like... No, even before I knew him, just talking with him professionally, I always felt that he would be a great backstage producer agent. Yes. Now, as far as Jake something, I'm not sure. I think his contract since expired.
Yeah,
he may have done a couple AEW darks or something, but I'm not sure. I hope he's doing well.
Man, you talked about like dedicated to the gym and those guys. Yeah, I worked out with you. We still work out occasionally, not as much anymore, but. Man, talk about dedicated to the gym. You were pushing it at this point.
Yeah.
You were up in your game. You had your phone going, taking video. You were making sure you wanted the world to see, and you were giving out the positive messages.
Yeah,
but ultimately, I think you were like, look at this impact.
Yeah,
Look at what
I wanted you to
I'm
say,
doing.
look,
for
man,
you."
don't forget about me over here now. I was asked to get in the best shape of my life, so I want to let them know I'm still over here, and it never worked. I mean, I can't say it ever worked because
I think it worked as far as
Let
you
me-
personally, for your life
let
in
me
general.
yeah,
you
let me
look
go
great.
back and let me go back and let me retract what I just said there. I didn't go to the gym just on mere fact
Oh yeah,
of that, but you would think that
it's
hey
a
man,
push, it's a drive.
I know I'm the best I've ever been. I'm on the signed deal, and I know that they know they got me coming back, and they're gonna be happy with it because man, they were praising me. I lost so much weight. I was, they were praising me, and I would have sworn like, hey man, I got something coming here. I know they're gonna let me unleash soon enough.
Yeah. Hey, the difference between friends and business, right?
You're right.
And it's like, hey, we can like you. We can.
Yeah, man,
we talk
I'm
about it all the time. There's lots of guys that we would take fishing, but not quite sure that sharing a ring with them be the best thing in the world.
They may have wanted me to. They may have just wanted me to wet a line.
That's it, brother. You would be the ultimate fisherman,
Yes,
as
sir.
long as you don't tip the canoe.
There's your gimmick. There you go. Let me fucking fish or something.
Hey, if it was 1982, Vince McMahon would have had the fishing cap on you. You'd have had the reel, and you'd have probably been like luring in the junkyard dog to a feud.
Shit. Hey, they had me spraying fucking shit cologne on me on TV, so I would do it.
That's it, man. So let's talk about Wrestle House.
Okay.
Not just like what the people saw on TV, but
Yeah.
I know that you told me it was pretty cool. You pull up to like this warehouse in the middle of nowhere.
We taped in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, just share your
And,
stories on
It was down there in the COVID era, and I had gotten the script emailed from the office at midnight. And
You mean the rundown, the format,
I
not
got
the script,
format.
right?
I'm sorry. So I got reading through it, and I'm like, Lawrence, the fuck is Lawrence D? And then I got reading that I'm like falling in love with Rosemary.
How'd that hit at home?
Well, I was kind of scared to tell Paige the next day, but I got reading it, and the gist was that she was gonna, put this love spell on me that
Trying to make
that
Johnny
made
Bravo
Johnny Bravo
jealous.
jealous because it had nothing to do with me, that she didn't really love me or want me.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that I was like just this little nobody that
Yeah.
she could put a little spell
Because
on.
at the beginning, I remember like you guys were just like the fat
Yeah.
guys in the background, like eating and
Yeah.
drinking and
Right.
lounging around, and then you broke out with the okay, hey, let's just pick between these two guys. On the show, obviously. And she just grabs you, puts a spell on you,
Yeah.
and you
And man-
completely make a big turn there.
Yeah, I would say go back and watch that season. It was a lot of fun. But when I pulled up, I was thinking that we're going to get in like this big nice house, and it's going to be like this mansion and this, that, and another. So they give you the they give you the address, and I put it in my GPS. I'm driving. I was like, man, this is a fucking like warehouse or distillery or
You're
this,
going to tell them you're lost.
this can't be. And then I go up, and then there's a ring, and I was like, well, this has got to be the place. And I go in, man, it's like this underneath. They've got all kinds of like props, and like you could tell it's
Yeah, it's like
where
a
they
real
record.
studio.
Yeah, and what it is the guy bought the property and turned it into like a recording studio for things like that. And
Yeah. Didn't you say there was like ambulances, all
man,
sorts
they
of
had
props?
everything: props, motorcycles, like a little like the Ghostbuster ambulance, like the station wagon. They had something like that
Yeah,
down
Ecto
there.
One.
And then you go upstairs, and then there's like an open room, and then there's a kitchen, and then but they're not like full house kitchens,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but on TV, you
Enough
watch
to
it,
get
it looks
by,
like
yeah.
you're in this mansion.
and like I remember like the stairs went up. You would think like at Wrestle House
Leads to nowhere.
you would think it leads to like an upstairs house, but
Yeah.
really it's just a fucking upstairs, just at the top of the stairs. There you go. That's it. There's nothing there.
There's an alternate dimension where you go upstairs and you just never come back.
Yeah. And then you go around the corner and it's like Sue Young's pit of hell,
Oh goodness!
But man, we got there and it was
What
hot.
do you- what is that? It was hot. It was
Yeah,
pretty
it was
hot,
hot.
in that pit of hell.
It was, well, yeah. But I'm saying it was hot in that fucking place
You
too
all
because
had
it
the-
wasn't air conditioned.
Yeah, y'all had the Monster Abyss locked in there, didn't you?
Yeah, he was
I'm
in there
pretty sure I saw
somewhere.
him.
I didn't see him. I seen him on TV.
On TV, he appeared.
But I'd like to have seen him. He's one of my real good
I
buddies.
wonder what happened to that guy.
I don't know, man. I heard he's doing well.
I know. I heard he just got lost in Stanford.
Maybe. I'd say that his bank account says it's worth it.
Hey, man, I get lost any day.
But we got there and like I'm reading this, then they've got like the script, stacked up. So I'm starting to read it again, and I'm like, how am I going to hit these lines? I've never done anything like this. This is straight acting, and when we got changed, and I was not comfortable with the Lawrence D character right away. No, because I knew, man, it's tough. I'm this big burly fucking rawr, and I remember telling Paige, well, I don't know how to tell you this. I'm going to fall in love with another woman on TV. And she's like, what the fuck? Why are you shitting me? All this shit. But
she still hasn't watched those episodes.
But man, here's the thing I'll say about my wife is she's just as much a pro about it as I am. She understands what it is and what we're there for. Now, does that mean that she wasn't salty? Absolutely not. I don't think any woman was like, sure, go ahead. Fucking,
Yeah, you got to get into her shoes and be like, hey, if you had to watch her on TV kiss another guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't. But like seeing me locked arm in arm walking, I'm sure that was tough on her, and she was cool with it. She was a team player with that, and she knew that was my job, and she knew the business and knows the business, and she's just as much of a pro as I am, and I'm happy for that, because it could have been a big argument, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it today. We definitely got to plug Impact Plus.
Yeah,
you can go back to Impact Plus, and you can get on there. You can watch all of your matches. You can watch all of Wrestle House. You can go back. You can watch the Jeff Jarrett's, the Kurt Angles. You can get down. You can go back to the Asylum days and see, Ken Shamrock.
$1.99 a month or something.
It's great. I've got it, and I'm glad they just somehow they keep subscribing me every month. And, I just don't have the heart to tell them no. I got it because you joined Impact and you left. And
listen, don't you be afraid to tell them no. They'll tell you no anytime.
I feel like I'm a part of the family. I feel I'm still a part of Impact.
Don't you be afraid to tell them no. No, man, I'm happy. I think it's a great thing that they've got. Really, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I love Impact. I can't sit here and knock them. I've had a lot of good times with them. So, I mean, Impact Wrestling, it changed my life. It really did. It wouldn't allow me to be sitting here on an afternoon with you doing this. Otherwise, I'd still be up there miserable thinking about how I'm going to do something else, Yeah. But Impact Wrestling opened them doors, just like SkullFace Records opens these doors. So we got to open doors to a commercial break right now. And we're going to be right back. You see what I just did right there?
Took my spot.
SkullFace, I'm on you, baby.
Uh-oh.
Some creepy guy is stalking you in the parking garage at 3 a.m., but you're not worried because you have a Bright for War Industries knife strapped to your belt. Don't be a victim in this crazy world. Protect yourself. Carry a knife made by Bright for War Industries. It may save your life. Hi, this is Josh for Bright for War Industries. I'm a professional knife maker with 15 years experience. If you're looking for a unique gift or a high-performance piece of cutlery for the kitchen, the field, or for personal protection, look no further. Look for me on Instagram at Bright for War.
I'm very salty that you took my spot going into break there.
I had to steal it.
That right there is just like when you went to Impact and me and you were teaming as Everything Legendary and you replaced me. You recasted me with AC Romero. How'd that turn out for you, buddy?
I had to get a little more meat on the bone.
It was a lot of meat on the bones, but, both of you went through a transformation. Both of you lost a lot of weight. A lot of you were, you guys were you were committed to what you were doing. And we were talking about Wrestle House, and that's something else that you gave your full commitment to. How did you finally get into the mindset of okay, I'm going to do this Lawrence D thing, even though it's not me?
Well, one thing about me, and I'll say for myself, is I feel like I have a very good range, and I feel like I can shift gears pretty good. And it's something about just developing who that character is. I knew that version of Larry had to be in there somewhere. So I just had to go find it and bring it to television. So yeah, I just had to be that suave, arrogant, think I'm the sexiest, prettiest man alive that I did anyway on Twitter or wherever else I was going posting half-naked selfies.
What did the ring rust actually smell like? Was it anything? Was it just water?
It smelled like shit, man. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, obviously on the show, but did it actually smell?
It smelled like shit. It's ring rust.
So if we sprayed it
Really?
right
No,
now,
if
you would turn into Lawrence
shit,
D.
you spray it right now, you getting some snatch, boy, because you know. But no, man, really and truly,
We're gonna save that for the OnlyFans Patreon exclusive.
yeah. But really and truly, it was just I had a cologne bottle in my gear bag. You know how you get on the way out, and they're like, oh yeah, there's ring rust right there.
There it is.
And
It's good shit, pal.
Put some tape over the the logo, and we sprayed it away, and it smelled like shit on TV. But really and truly, it was just regular cologne that you would buy
And they
anywhere.
spray that ring rust, and then all of a sudden you magically transform, and you're no
Man.
longer the best hand in the house. Now you're the what was Lawrence D? If Larry D is the best hand in the house, what is Lawrence D?
Lawrence D was a
what?
lover, not a fighter.
There you go.
Yeah, that Lawrence D was a lover, not a fighter, and he would have his hair, straight, and he had his little suit top on,
Laid
and
out on like
laid out.
fur
He had his-
carpets.
Yeah, he
and
had his
beds.
gold chain. One time they put me across the fucking table, leaning across the table, and I was so fat. This is no lie. I sat across this table, and I was like, something's gonna break because it's like, and I was like, everything all right? And it's like, yeah, don't break the table. Don't break the table. But Lawrence D was just that guy. I never thought that I would be like this. Look at me, I'm sexy. This woman, all the women want me. I always thought that any sorts of camera on me in a wrestling ring would have to be this ugly, burly, fist-toting, 300-pounder. And it allowed me a chance to challenge myself, whenever you get there, because, when you get there on TV, your pressure's up a little bit. And even more so when it's something that you're not comfortable with. And I was very uncomfortable with Lawrence D starting out. But once it's like, this is cool. This, once I embraced it for what it was, because I felt like it's just a throwaway. I thought they were just, I just do this to get the fuck, But once I embraced it and come into it, I had a lot of fun with Lawrence D. It allowed me to, that's where I become friends with Crazy Steve, Rosemary Hernandez, because we spend a lot of time there on the sets, just joking and laughing and missing lines and, making silly faces while the camera's running and someone's on set, stuff that you would expect anywhere else.
What was the shooting schedule like, and what was it like to shoot each of the different type of scenes? And, I know you were already used to it, but if you weren't in a scene, did you just feel like you had to wait all day?
Oh yeah, you're waiting. You're just waiting. And what I would do is, wait and go over I would know what's coming. So I would make sure that at least I would know what to expect as far as, my scene's next. Because they would record it, going down the line there. And my scene might not be till hours in, but I wanted to make sure that I had an idea of what I was doing. So I mean, you could go do whatever the hell you wanted. You could go text, you could go call your wife, your,
as long as you
whatever.
don't go too far.
And I would do that. I'm just like anyone else, but I wanted to make sure that I knew where I was at, because I was very, new to lines and all of that, and fortunately RD down there was great with being patient with all of us, and they was really impressed with what we did for not having any acting experience, I guess you would say.
Yeah, and I don't know when we'll get a chance to talk about it again, and some of the people at home may not know, so tell them who RD is.
RD's the producer backstage. He's one of the creative guys. Real nice guy. I didn't really get close with any of those guys, but just really good to work with. You could tell he worked. I guess he had did some work with the WWE as well, and was really up there. And I don't know what happened, but I mean he's talented. He knows his shit, man. He's good at getting people together and getting it done. That's what takes a good producer. You can write them all day, but getting them in and getting the content on film is another thing.
Yeah, you got to work with a lot of really amazing people in your time at Impact. Yeah. You got to do a really cool sit-down interview with David Penzer.
Oh, right? Yeah, that was really cool. That was actually one of my promo days, to where we just cut a minute and a half promo, and Penzer's like, "Hey, Larry, you want to come?" Say, "Sure," and I
what's
got to
that like?
down.
And you're sitting there talking to the voice of WCW.
Yeah,
David
man,
Penzer.
he's really one of the nicest guys. And I remember in Vegas sitting and talking to him for 2 hours at TGI Fridays, just about getting back where I was at and how proud of me that he was and how much weight I had lost. And what I liked about Penzer is he didn't sugarcoat nothing, but he was nice as can be. You know, he would just tell you like, this is brutal business. He's like, people like you that got off, it's hard for them even to come back at all. And like you said, as nice as you are, he's like, you're a great guy. He's like, I'm glad to see you back. And you know, I was happy to see
Everybody always hopes the best for you.
Yeah, man. Everyone was super nice to me.
I think
there.
even now, I think that like you obviously, I don't know, a lot of people are probably watching this waiting for you to, you know, shit on the company or to say something that they can be like, right there's a thumbnail we can run with. There's
right,
clickbait.
I'm sure.
But you don't have bad things to say about the company, the people in the company. And the company doesn't have anything bad to say about you. You seem to have parted on mutual terms because they didn't fire you.
Yeah, I was texting with Dreamer last week.
Away.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cool. I would rather walk away like that with just a little scuff on my shoulder, or you know, a little pride hurt or a little bit, as opposed to just walking away salty. Because regardless of where I came from or what my creative was there, I still had a hell of a time. The experience was second to none, and I made friends that I never thought I would make. So that alone was worth what we were doing there, me being there in general, and it allowed me to do what I do today. So, you know, it's a win-win, I feel.
Yeah, you're constantly growing. You picked up so much there that you continue to share, and like I said, you're always constantly growing and changing. And you know, the biggest change of all, you become Lawrence D, and you're doing this stuff with Rosemary, causing trouble at home, all that type of stuff. When we get back from break, I want to talk about some of the people that were in the cast that made up Wrestle House. Kind of give your opinion on all those people, and just what relationship you had with them, or maybe currently still have with them. It'd be a lot of really fun memories, I think.
Of course.
So let's go to break, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and you know, we talked about it going into the break. Talk about who made up the cast of Wrestle House outside of yourself. You know, we talked about there's you, there's AC, there's the Deaners, but for anybody that hasn't seen Wrestle House, tell them, you know, what they can expect and who was on the show.
Yeah, I mean, you got Hernandez, you've got Crazy Steve, Rosemary, Tyra Valkyrie, Jordan Grace was there. Gosh, I can't remember. I mean, there was Johnny Swinger was one of my favorite individuals
swing man,
of
daddy.
all time, who really is golden behind the camera. I'm trying to think of who else was in there. What was the tag team champions, the female tag team champions? One of them still, Tasha Steeles,
Madison
and
Rayne was there.
Madison Rayne was there. I want to say that was it for season 1.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Bravo, of course.
Yeah. What were your memories of working with these people, and do you have any specific memories for each of them, or any of them that just stood out to you? Maybe people you worked with, and moments that people may want to hear about.
Well, you know, just getting to get to know Hernandez alone was great. You know, hearing his stories, and you know, he's a former world champion, and he's been there. And
Super Maxx,
yeah, like, you know, just really, he's real. He's a real individual, and that's what I like. And you know, Crazy Steve, obviously, we spoke in the past about our loops and how I would hang out with he and Cody Deaner, and you know, Tyra, and I'd known Tyra from Morrison anyway, you know, and she was super sweetheart, and just everyone was really cool to get along with. Rosemary knew her stuff. Who else was there? What was it? Black Taroose, maybe he was.
Oh yeah,
I think he was.
because
there.
he was like,
I
think he was reading a book or something during. What was it like shooting that intro scene? Because I always thought that was really cool when the show would come on and it would show each and every one of you almost like a sitcom.
Yeah.
What was it like filming all that?
What it was.
That was when you were laying on the table, right?
Yeah, you're just like, okay, well, this shot's going to have you laid across the table, and that's going to be our intro for whenever we do it. So you need you to lay up here, lay like this, and then the camera spans. Is that good? Okay, we'll take another one. Okay, we'll use one of those two. Both of those are great.
And then you get 2 seconds on TV for an hour's worth of work.
Yes, sir. And then you would go, and then you still get that paycheck, though.
Hey, no, I mean, I think it's a really cool process because nobody knows what goes into like that editing process.
No, I'll tell you,
all the work that goes into just to get 2 seconds.
And and then we did the cinematic there with the Deaners that season, which was really cool, you know, of those scene shots and how everything played out, and just watching it all come together was really cool to see the final product of how it was shot and how it was perceived was really cool.
What was your opinion on cinematic wrestling? I know that eventually it probably got to be that it was too much of it. You know, it was one of those things that got over, and so people continued to do it, and it was an easy thing to do during COVID. But what was your opinion on cinematic wrestling? Maybe before you did it, and then after you did it, and maybe now it's even different.
Before I did, I was like, man, that's fucking, there ain't no way. And then when I did, it's like, hey, this is really fucking cool, to the point that we done one on our Gen X project.
Yeah, Gen X TV.
We did a cinematic. It was a tag match with Cameron Saturn, Outlast, and
yeah, it was Cameron Saturn and Gaston LaRue against Outlast, against the Native Sons in a triple threat. Anything goes, falls, counts, anywhere. It was the main event of the show.
Do you know which episode that was?
I don't
I'm
have
putting
the
you on the spot. I know.
offhand. If our research department would have known that you were going to ask the question, it's always good in wrestling if things are predetermined.
Was it Resurgence? Was it one of those little specials we did called Resurgence?
I think it was something to that nature.
So go to the Gen X. Go to the Gen X YouTube page and find Resurgence. And watch that. That was fun. When I did that cinematic, that's when I came back to you and was like, hey, I think that we should, let's try it. It couldn't hurt.
I was very proud of how it turned out, because I remember the filming process that just we did with so many cuts and so many takes and so many little things.
It's the same.
It's like when I'm watching, I'm like, there's no way they cut this up and it flows. And then I watched it and I was like, this is great, because it doesn't come off hokey. There are a couple of little funny spots to it, but overall it flows as one big match.
You get
and I think
only
it's one of the best
what
things
you
we
need.
did. On Gen X TV.
I feel like it's definitely something that I'm proud of that I've done. I've done a lot of creative with you, and whether it be wrestling matches, wrestling booking, or just teaching wrestling, and that's one of the coolest things I think that we've collectively been a part of.
3 great tag teams. We had really built the tag division up really good at that point, and it was time for a blow-off. It was time for the 3 to go all out and give everything they had, and there's stage dives and bathroom brawls and fighting in the parking
Remember
lot.
that brother even got the swirly. Remember we got the swirly in. That was cool, but man,
really good guys, and they gave a lot of terrific ideas, and you pieced it together, and it was just a really good piece of business, and I recommend everybody look at it, because I think it could really get over with both sides, whether you're like, I don't like the comedy, or the wrestling, whatever it is. It is a good mix of both.
I would have never been able to put anything like that together without going down and experiencing what I did at Wrestle House. And, I was like, okay, this is not bad. Like, I like this. And then after I completely, was like, yeah, this is cool. But first, like you said, you asked first how I felt about it going in. I was like, oh man, I don't know how this is going to go. It's going to be, and then when I opened my eyes to it and was willing and accepting, and I fell in love with it. I think it's great. Like you said, sometimes that can be overdone. I think, which one was it? Abyss and those guys? The very first one was with Matt and Jeff Hardy, right?
Oh yeah, they did the Hardy
that was cool.
Match.
So I
Ultimate
watched
Deletion.
that.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: it's like sometimes wrestling's not meant to appeal to just us or just the diehards. How many times did your son watch the Ultimate Deletion?
No, probably 4 or 5, I would say. He loved it.
Over and over, because
he was young then, but he loved that.
Sometimes that is like, it's not for us.
Right.
And sometimes you just have to accept that, hey, I don't know who they're doing this for, but it ain't me. But that type of thing can appeal to an outside audience.
I think so.
And bring people in that go, I don't really care for sitting there watching 30-minute or 60-minute classic like maybe me or you would, but they'll sit there and watch that because they're like, you know what, wrestling or not, that's entertainment.
Right. And then you would even get to do like cinematics at that season, and then we also had like I mentioned, when you pull up, the ring is there on the outside to the left. And then
how was it to cut between doing scene? I'm sure to you it was seamless, and on the show it was seamless, but Did you guys film all the wrestling at once?
Oh
or
man,
did
no,
you go
it went,
back and forth?
It went straight down, it went straight down script. Like we just boom, this one's done, that one's done. Okay, now like if you remember, Tommy Dreamer was like match time. You know, literally it would come down. So we'd shoot a shot and say, okay, you're like I think there was something with me and AC fighting over a pillow.
Yes, you guys did have a match. I see it on the. Rundown here is that you and AC Romero on July 19th had a match within Wrestle House.
And it was hot as hell outside when we done. It was like 90 degrees when we was out there. And me and AC wasn't little by no means, and we were just sweating around. But everyone just gathered around the ring, and then they would have, whether it be, I think Kylie Ray may have been our referee, and we would just...
Smiley Kylie.
Yeah, man, we only had about a minute. We just needed a minute's worth of something. There it was. I think I hit him with a fist, and that was it. I won. Mark that win, Larry D over AC Romero.
There you go.
I'm head of the table when it comes to Triple XL now because I have the win over AC Romero on television. So
Hey, man, the only thing
the angle that never happened.
So another memorable match that you had within Wrestle House, we talked about you became Lawrence D, and Lawrence D is in love with Rosemary, and she's using Lawrence D to make Johnny Bravo jealous. Well, that leads to a match that I don't think that many people thought that they would ever see, especially on national television, and that is you against Johnny Bravo in a wrestling match.
Yes.
Let's
Johnny
talk about
Bravo
that.
was a stiff competitor. He evidently was offended at the fact that I was trying to invade on his relationship with Rosemary, and he challenged me to a fight, and he fell victim to the right hand. Man, Wrestle House, I'm telling you, man.
Unstoppable.
Wrestle House is unstoppable for Lawrence D.
If only they'd have canceled Impact and just ran with Wrestle House.
Just Wrestle House, I'd be
you'd
the
have been
Wrestle House
Wrestle
World Champion
Yes.
without question.
No doubt. You talked about the guy saying you're the Hulk Hogan of Kentucky. Well, you're the Hulk Hogan of Wrestle
I'm
House.
the Hulk Hogan
brother.
of Wrestle House, baby. Just spray that fucking cologne.
I love it. But, the thing is, we talked about you had the cinematic brawl with the Deaners. They thought you had stole their beer.
Yeah.
Anything
Where's
else?
our beer?
That's it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they assumed that you guys would steal their beer.
Yeah, of
Why would
course.
They even think that?
Well, I don't know why they would think that, but they sure did that time. I don't know, but the beer was always good there, though.
Yeah. Well, it was a big house brawl, and everybody's fighting. It's going all over the place. Ultimately, I just go down to the win-loss record.
Right.
Okay, so you dominated Wrestle House. And people would say maybe you even dominated the feud. I know they knocked like ping pong balls into you all's mouths and you'll spit them at each other and put each other's eyes out. But the feud, the war within the house ultimately came down to, this isn't me, man. This is just the results. Apparently that brawl was considered a match by Tommy Dreamer. And Tommy Dreamer says that Sue Young, in her form as Susie, little baby doll dress, she won the brawl. So you do have a loss in Wrestle House to Susie.
Well, paranormal powers are a motherfucker. And so she's very powerful with what she possesses, evidently, to capture that win.
That's it. We talked about she has a gate of hell that apparently the monster abyss is trapped
I love
in.
Susie. I can't imagine anyone else I'd rather lose to. No, she's a sweetheart. Rich is great,
talk about
too.
Sue Young and just your relationship with her.
Sue Young is such a sweetheart. Like, I remember how she would see, and like, I met her at IWA, and I went to the Impact homecoming and sat, and you're there, man. You're you're not nervous, but you don't want to like cause a scene. So I'm just sitting by myself, and she came up with Richie and just has been friends with me since that time. And her and Richie are great people, and I'm blessed to know her. She's a great wrestler. She's a great person. Great people. Great mother. So I can't say anything negative about Susie for sure.
Yeah. Another thing that it just came to my mind, a lot of people don't know that before you got signed to Impact, before you went down and you did your deal, before even I think the Rockstar stuff.
Yeah.
Abyss was really big there within the company, and they had you come down to one of their big pay-per-views.
Yeah, Homecoming. He invited me down. Yeah, he's like, "Come on down," and I can't promise you nothing, but yeah, he was always big. He would tell me he was always praising me down there, and like he would let me know that like, hey, other people are praising you too. So it was really cool to have that kind of connection. But yeah, Abyss was the guy. Like he was the one that's like, man, you should really think about coming to, hang out at the shows or, try to get your name and show face and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know before
they know who you are. Yeah.
Before anybody, he was pushing hard.
Of course, yeah.
I know that there was a lot of disappointment from you. Like, I don't know if you built it up or what it was going to be, but you got down there and they just had you sit in the crowd.
Yeah.
I think somebody got power bombed off the stage.
I got to catch Tyra off stage and stuff. And, I don't know if it's disappointed or just like eagerness. Like, when you're around a wrestling ring and you see people in there, it's like, I want in there. I want it now, And I can't say I was disappointed. It's just I was eager to be in there, and I didn't get my chance.
Yeah, and it took a while. How long between that point and them actually saying, Larry D, you need a bigger yard to play in?
I would say it was every bit of 2.5, 3 years maybe. See, that was in January. So it was probably, I don't know, when was that Homecoming? Was it 2017? Probably 2018?
I think so.
I got offered in the end of 19, so about almost 2 years, I would say. Yeah.
And that just made you even more hungry.
Yeah, man.
You just worked even harder.
I did, and thankfully I got the opportunity to wrestle with quite a bit of the Impact talent, to where it wasn't just Justice going down there going, "Hey, Larry D's a good hand," Then you had guys like Sammy Callahan who was down there, Jake Christ, I don't know who else pitched me, but I know that several people had pitched me to come do business with Impact before I came and done business with Impact, so that was really cool.
Yeah, and now you're, here you are, and you finally get signed, and the crowd, you killed the crowd, man. You get signed, and then all of a sudden it's empty arenas. They can't put one person in the building.
Well, I can sell them out then.
That's it. The only way to get the crowd back up was to move you to a warehouse.
Yeah.
So the crowd would come back.
How fitting. Fitting to move me to a warehouse.
Yeah, so you go to the warehouse, and you're doing all this stuff. Is there anything else that you really found memorable at the taping process of Wrestle House, or any other stories that you think fans would find interesting?
I think that, if anything, I think that all reality shows are a work. I hate to be that way because I'm big on reality shows, but just seeing like how you can tape 6 weeks, 8 weeks worth of 30 or 40 minute bits, or however long it would be, in a matter of days, I could easily see how, like, I don't know, what is it, UFC? What was that? What the Ultimate Fighter? I could easily see that they could get what we would see in 6 months. They could probably get in 3 or 4 weeks, I would say, or like even. Gosh, I'm a big Survivor fan, so I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong, but like I could see like Survivor kind of being like, okay, we're gonna shoot this scene and y'all go back. But I don't know. I hope that Survivors is a shoot and not a work, because I fucking love it. Like I just, coming out of there, I feel that reality shows was like, man, are they really staying there as long as we think that they're staying there? Because we just shot 6-8 weeks worth here in 3 days.
Yeah. Hey,
so.
man, it's TV, it's entertainment, and we do it all for the money. And,
of course,
here in studio, we got to do those type of things too. We got to pitch to a commercial. So we're going to go to break, and we're going to come back, and hopefully we will get a few more comments about Wrestle House before we wrap it up.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Ryan the Lion. If you want to check out me and my music and my new podcast, Nick's Mayhem Music Review, go to SkullFace Records. SkullFace Records.
So what is your ultimate takeaway from the entire Wrestle House experience, Wrestle House itself? What do you want fans to take away from it, and the Lawrence D character and experience?
I think that what I would want people to take away from it is to sometimes not take something as serious and just enjoy the product for what's offered. I know that Some people hated it. Some people loved it. Some people just didn't care. But at the end of the day, it's part of the product that they put out. I'd hope that they would take away the hard work, the effort, and everything that went into creating Wrestle House. And what I take away from it personally is it growth. It made me grow as a performer, made me grow as all the way around, because, you know, it put me in an uncomfortable situation that I felt like I eventually thrived in. It helped me know that I can go outside the box a little bit and still be able to, you know, make what you wouldn't think work, if that makes sense. Something that you're a little eerie about, something that you may not be as confident in. At the end of the day, it allowed me to build confidence that I could be something besides Larry D on TV. So, yeah, that's what I got from it.
Yeah, it was really cool for you to be able to show like your distance and
Yeah.
your range, and it showed you that you could be anything or anybody.
Yeah.
That, you know, if anybody random was like, "Hey, I want to bring you here and I want you to do this," that you would have no fear to go.
Of course not.
I can give you that. I can.
Doesn't
do that.
matter. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. I swear. Like that's one thing that, like, now, if I were to ever have like a TV experience again, like I would feel completely fine going up there not knowing my creative and having them hand it to me when I got there. I really feel that way now. Probably not before Wrestle House, but now I feel that I could go up there and they just say, "Well, here's your gig today," and I would be fine.
What was the most fun thing that you did, and or like the funniest thing that happened during Wrestle House?
What was the most fun thing that I did? The most fun thing that I did was got to drive around Memphis and see all the crackheads on the way to the warehouse. But, you know, it was just fun in general seeing it come together, because I've always been a reality series fan. You know, years ago, I would watch Biggest Loser. I would watch, you know, Hell's Kitchen. I would watch any kind of, you know, Survivor, obviously, but any kind of reality television show I was watching, and to actually be a part of it was a part of one myself down the line was pretty cool. You know, I think that's pretty fucking awesome, if you ask me.
What was your least favorite thing about doing Wrestle House, or maybe even COVID era wrestling?
My least favorite thing was knowing that I was kind of like on the outside of the creative side. You know, there wasn't much going into moving forward where I went after that. I think that was the least favorite, was the unknown. You know, the unknown of tomorrow as far as where we go after this. Yeah.
How did they wrap up season 1? How'd you guys get back to the real world?
Well, we teleported back because, you know, if you remember, there was a wedding.
We'll get into that
Okay.
in the future, because I believe that, you know, somebody shot Johnny Bravo.
Someone shot Johnny Bravo, and then, like, yes, we teleported back at the end there after all was said and done, and we were all, if you remember right, we was in the middle of the ring, and we was all had wraps and galls and everything like that on us.
It's like the
after
big like
Susie
high
fucked us
five.
up. Yeah.
High five
Like,
slow-mo
we made
shot.
it back to the impact zone. Yes, we're here. We're out of this fucking world. Yeah.
That's it. And in your mind, you're going, "No, I was Wrestle House champion."
It's like, can we
Put me
stay?
back.
I had a mansion. You know, You know, there's even season 2.
Yeah.
I have another mansion. So, yeah.
You know, it's like a baby. If ever they come out, they're crying. If they knew all the hardships that were about to face them in the real world, they'd probably say, "Put me back."
I guarantee you that. For sure.
I love that. So, Wrestle House is over. You guys are back. And we know that there's going to be more. You know, you say that creative didn't have anything for you, but it seems like maybe there was a little spark, at least a little something that they had coming out of Wrestle House that, you know, maybe they didn't have anything for Larry D, but Lawrence D, hey, maybe I can write for Lawrence D.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, well, that's what I was told.
Yeah.
You know, but it never got wrote, because out of that Vegas loop, when I heard, hey, I can write for Larry D. I mean, Lawrence D. No offense to Larry D, but I can write for Lawrence D. And I left out of like, oh shit, okay, now okay, I'll come back and be. I went and got gear and everything. I have a set of gear at home right now that I wore one time for 2 minutes.
T-shirts, gear,
T-shirts, gear,
invested.
everything. People were digging it. Like Lawrence D was over. I feel like
The internet went crazy.
Yeah,
Like, especially Twitter. People loved when you were on screen. And people loved Lawrence D because it was something different.
man.
And it was something to get. It was like, okay, hey, we got Larry D, and that's great, and he's our guy.
You know.
But man, this Lawrence D is a character.
Well,
and
like,
you
I
don't get a lot of
embraced
that
it.
anymore.
I embraced it too. Like in my off time, I I know that Larry D is not going to be who they want to move forward with. So I bought in. Like, I'm buying gear. I'm thinking how I'm going to, things I'm going to do, move sets, psychology of who Lawrence D will be on TV, moving forward. So, you know me, you heard me on the phone on the way over here. I'm always doing my homework for upcoming things. And I definitely was putting the work in. And I feel if Lawrence D had the chance, it's hard to know what could have came out of it. I think that we still could have had great skits with myself and Johnny Swinger and all of the knockouts and everything. And I think it would have been a real good time.
Yeah, I think right there, if there was ever a chance for you to have that like breakout singles moment, at least at that time, that was going to be the small window or door that you were going to try to kick open.
Yeah. I just needed just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's all I would ask for. But.
So moving forward, and I'm not talking about an impact because we know where that leads, but as far as right now, have we seen the last of Lawrence D?
Well, it's their intellectual property. So, yeah. I mean, if I could do Lawrence D without, having to, I'm not sure Impact would like chafe my ass, but I don't want to test the waters on it either. But if ever the opportunity came up for me to do Lawrence D again, I absolutely would do Lawrence D again. I told them, hey, just because I'm not under contract doesn't mean I can't come in here and tape some Wrestle House as Lawrence D. I would love that. That was a conversation I had on the phone with the office as I was on my way out. I have no, is it my favorite character? Not yet. I'm in love with Larry D. I always will be. But Lawrence D., I think there's something there if ever the right creative came about, for sure.
Yeah, I think that it's really cool that you embraced that you went all in on it. And so now, like, if someone wanted you to do Lawrence D, you got to ask Impact?
Yeah, I mean, in the thing, I'm sure it said something along the lines of, like, all intellectual properties and all this, that, and another characters.
Big contract you signed.
Everything like that, and I don't want to test that water,
Yeah.
Maybe you could, but, I mean, to me, is like, if someone were to ask me, hey, I want to book you as Lawrence D on the independents, I would definitely have to reach out. I feel and say, hey, here's the thing. Someone wants me to do this. I don't know. That'd be a bridge I would have to cross in case it came. But no one's asked for Lawrence D since Wrestle House.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, you did 2 seasons of Wrestle House.
Yeah.
You still have an active relationship with Impact. Obviously, this is stuff we'll all talk about. Moving forward.
Badlands Bart. We even got Badlands Bart. I had all kinds of characters there at Impact, man.
That's it. So much potential just left on the table. We talk about there's food on the table, so eat, and they just decided they were full and they moved away.
Well, put me in the fucking microwave. Fucking leftovers tastes good too. But no, I'm happy for what I got to do when I got to do there. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, I love that. So we're going to go to one last commercial break. When we come back, we've asked the fans to send in questions. We're still asking.
They brought them this week, didn't they, from my understanding?
They brought the questions. We said, ask Larry anything, and I'm going to unload on you, so hope you're ready.
I'm always ready, baby.
I had so many questions that I literally had to format it. Usually I'm able to look at the phone. I had to format it right here. So John wants to know, you're a big part. You are a big part of Generation Next Pro Wrestling. And this is a question about Generation Next Pro Wrestling. He wants to know if at any point in time you or the creative team have ever considered doing a show where the fans will get to make the matches. The fans will get to pick the stipulations, kind of a Cyber Sunday, Taboo Tuesday kind of deal. I know at Primetime Wrestling we did a show like that where the fans chose the matches or the stipulations. He wants to know if we'll ever see something like that at Gen Next Wrestling.
I would love to see something like that. But the problem with things like that is like they're great ideas and they're jumped upon very quickly and then they unfold not the way that they should. If the moons and the stars and the technology all lined up to where we could get 100% the way that we know this is the way it should be, of course, I would love to do something interactive with the fans.
We went really good at Primetime Wrestling. We did. It had some really cool matches. I remember Kayla Cassidy ended up wrestling against Christopher and Michael Lotus. I think, a lot of matches, big stipulations. I think there was a cage match. All sorts of things that the fans chose, and they really liked the interactive experience, but I agree with you. You got to do it right.
Yeah, I think so many good ideas are squandered away because they're just rushed, and that's something that with me as an early businessman, I guess you could say, would be like, man, that's a great idea. Let's do it tomorrow. To where now it's like, well, that's a great idea, but what if I really did take the time and put some thought into this and make sure that every little detail was the way that it should be, and then we could deliver that product that we know that Gen X can. I feel like we're building something special right now with Bar Brawl.
It's the next generation of wrestling. Like, it's not primetime wrestling. It's not anything that you've seen before.
Right.
It is a brand new company with young, hungry,
what I like
up-and-coming
about
talent.
the current Gen X, what we have going on is the fact that I feel when we came out the gate, man, and then it got to where we want to run everywhere we can. We want to do as many shows as possible to get eyes on these guys. And then we just realized, like, well, it's not quite getting the numbers that we thought. And I think that you hit it perfect. It's like, well, I think there's so many opportunities to see us in 1 month that we scatter them out. And that, I agree 100%.
Yeah. And with all wrestling, when you oversaturate the area, when you're on every show or every flyer, if people know that they can see you in one town, they don't have to go see anywhere else.
But I really feel like Bar Brawl is our project now. I feel like Bar Brawl is something that, like, we got something there to where we can make something special. And I feel that we focus so much on this project alone with Bar Brawl that we've had more success from Bar Brawl because we've really had the time to put in it, if that makes sense. It's not a rushed process. I know that we were like, man, we could do this every week. We could do this every month. But I think bi-monthly is something that allows us not only to first create the very best card possible for Gen X and the fans. I think that we must take our time to create the first card. We got to take time and give us time to promote, create advertisements, everything that goes along with it. And then when we hit those shows, man, they're home runs. And I think that's because we spend so much time every detail. I've seen you in our group messages with production on flyers where I could see a flyer that's absolutely fucking perfect and nothing wrong with it. And I like that, but we could really get our best if, and I know, and I've read it. Yeah, I know you don't want to go back, and I know I'm being a lie here, and I know you might seem like I'm picky, but I feel like if we made this small change right here, that this will get our best, and it does. That's why I love having you a part of stuff like that.
Yeah, we care and we work hard.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between everything we do is that we really do want to leave it better than we found it.
And it's constantly growing. What I like to is Bar Brawl is growing. And now to the point that the shows, we know we can hit them home runs, man. We to where even the after parties are now we're able to put more thought into how these after parties how they're organized, what we're going to do, how we can get the very best experience for anybody that comes through Legends Bar and events to watch wrestling on this Saturday, August 20th or whatever. They're going to get the very best experience. And it's because we have taken time. Everyone has taken time to make sure that the product's getting the very best attention. Yeah,
a lot of people, with their questions, also just sent in really kind words about, the podcast and especially the upcoming Bar Brawl. Did you want to hype the upcoming Bar Brawl? Let people know what they're looking forward to?
I want to hype one match for sure. That's me versus Derek James.
What do you think? Because it's not just a match. He's challenged you to pure wrestling rules. So no going off the top rope, no leaving the ring, no closed fists.
I think the problem with these guys is they feel like I'm just a brawler and they think that I can't wrestle. So, I'm going to shout. I guess Derek James needs a little reminder of my last 20 years of pro wrestling that I can do more than just fight. Yeah.
He specifically said that you've got your school, you got your seminars, you've got all this, you've been around the world. But when you come to Bar Brawl on August 20th, he's taking you to school.
Well, of course, and we're getting ready. We're going to cut one of those fancy promos to let him know how I feel about it here in a minute. But I'm excited to wrestle Derek James. I really am. I've watched the guy come up from Oklahoma and set the ring up and just be one of those great little kids that sit there. But now he's got himself in a couple matches and he's got a couple wins there at Gen X. He wants to test the next level, I guess, and he's going to get his chance.
Yeah, he was Mr. Gen X TV. Yeah. Now he's Mr. Gen X Live, and his thing is that at the fight night that we just had, hundreds of people around that ring. It was a big opportunity for eyes on the product, and it was a great show. So many good matches that we could talk about. But Derek James was there, and he was embarrassed. He lost to Gary Gandy, and he got
I was trying to get him out of the ring. I wasn't even prepared to wrestle.
Well, the guy, he said he just wanted one more match, and you get into the ring, and we talked about we go by the records, and officially the quickest win in Gen X history, 3 seconds.
What was that?
You pinned
what
Derek
was that
James.
song? Like that song that should come to your mind whenever I connected with him. Look at the flip of the wrist. Look at the flip. Knock that bitch out. Yeah.
Stand in the house.
So it'll be fun. Now he doesn't want me to use my fist.
No,
So
you can't hit him.
I'm
You've
gonna have
got
to
to
think.
wrestle him.
have
You
to
got to put on your Asics and go to the mat.
Yeah. I remember one time, I have to tell this story. One time we was drinking at my house when I was I was in another life.
That was completely
It was in a
different
completely
world.
different life, and it was about 2 a.m. and
It was in the upstairs of the wrestle house.
We had gotten back to the old Bourbon Court mansion there, and we got back from Waffle House, and we're terrible. And you made that phone call, and it was about training or something to one of the local companies, and then you was like, "Well, see that John Bad is your John Bad is your champion. I just want to know, does he like to go to the mat? Does he wear Asics?
Yeah, like, hey, I'm not there for championship belts and glory. I've got trophies. I've got medals. And more importantly, I got Asics, and that means I can go to the mat with anybody.
Man, that time of life, if we had you guys here at that time of life, boy, it'd be a whole different reality series, wouldn't it?
There'd be a lot of people upset with some of the answers to these questions.
There would be.
Follow up to that question that way back that he asked about the if Gen X would ever plan to do a show like that. The follow-up to that question is, what is your opinion of shows like that where fans get to choose the stipulations, and also like those shows they do where there's like a lethal lottery type situation to where names actually get drawn out of a hat, and those type of matches take place? You can't prepare for those type of things. You don't know what the fans
I think
are
I earned a
choose.
I think I earned a job like that.
Yeah, tell us about
a
it.
time or two with like Sami Callihan specifically, is that there was a lethal lottery draw with IWA in Jeffersonville on a Thursday night, and Sami Callihan was flying in. And if you know anything about flights, well, sometimes they don't go as planned, obviously. And his flight landed like 10 minutes before bail time. And Ian was like, I'll tell you what, the worst case scenario is Larry and Sami Callihan get drawn out of the hat to wrestle at any point of the card. And the even worse scenario is Larry D and Sami Callihan get drawed first. So any time of those lethal lotteries, a lot of people think those are like rigged and set up, and they're not. Or at least anyone I'm a part of has always been a shoot.
Yeah.
I know that some people try to work them, but in this case, my name or Sammy's name is drawn first, and he gets there, and he's literally running up the Jeffersonville arena and he's got his ass showing, pulling up, his blue jeans.
It's exactly how you thought a match with Sami Callihan was
his
gonna go.
music's playing, and then that's when I heard, man, worst case scenario is like if Larry D were to get drawn, and sure enough, and his next opponent is Larry D. And like we had never, I knew him. I shook his hand maybe 5 seconds prior at another show, and he goes to the ring, and then my name gets drawn, and somehow as I'm coming out the curtain, he fucking disappears and hits me in the back of the head with a mustard can, and that's how our match started. And we just went out there and we got it on the fly, and man, I'm telling you, from there we were buddies, and I was over with him, and then I got booked against him there at Rockstar Pro, to where we had some time to put something together, and he knew that I had a little bit behind me there, and that's when he told me that night, like, I want to bring you up to Revolver, and I'll message you.
Changed your life.
Changed my life. Yeah, it sure did. So
Caden wants to know, what was it like for you to work for the MWA, for the Mountain Wrestling Association? For anybody that doesn't know, outside of this area, it was a really big company here in the Kentucky area, ran by like Danny Fargo, the likes of Chris Hayes, lots of really big local names, and people like Wildcat Chris Harris, the Monster Abyss when he was Prince Justice. Lots of guys came up through there. Chad Allegra, who was Carl Anderson. And he just wants to know what it was like for you to work in the MWA, the legacy of the company.
I think you can find these stories with anyone that's gotten signed or any. There's always that that promotion that their home promotion when they were coming up that's memorable to them. I've had several small promotions coming up, but MWA was the one where I really I got to grind my gears, I guess you would say, in a good way. I came up there half trained, and I thought I was fully trained, and then I realized that there had guys like the Steels and the Greens and all that at the time that were there, and I would see that they were very good, and they would get to do things like I want to be a part of that, and MWA humbled me to where it taught me to be a professional, because up until then I had no idea what being a professional was. And then once I seen man, I can learn from these guys. And fortunately I got paired with Scott Hayes. And that's where he was always on the road, and we would share how much we loved to wrestle. And he was a Colorado Rockies scout. He made all this big money, and I'm working at the Kentucky Horse Park for $6.95 an hour.
And wrestling just because he loved it. He didn't have to. He did it because he loved it.
Every other Thursday, I was off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So every other Thursday, he would pick me up in Lexington, or I would drive to his house, and then we would drive down to Nashville, and we'd wrestle at the Stadium Inns, and then we would stay over and we'd wrestle in Laverne, or then we would wrestle in wherever it would be, and come home on Sunday and wrap up in Glensboro, and then he'd drop me off at his house and I'd go home.
And those guys would sneak you into bar shows.
I remember one time, man. Yeah, I remember one time it was up at Donnie P was running a show up in Saddle Ridge. Or not Saddle, was it Saddle Ridge?
I'm not sure.
Anyway, they had a show there,
so.
and you would have to have your ID to come through. And I remember they stopped me on my way, and they're like, "Hey, come through the back." And I came through the kitchen, and I wrestled the match. And I changed next to Chris Hero, and I wrestled the match, and they paid me. I had to go right back out the kitchen. I couldn't hang out. But yeah, man, I've done a bunch of crazy stuff to get into a wrestling ring. But the MWA was always good for solid talent. You would travel the shows, and you would see the guys, they get it. They you know what I mean? They do the same stuff. But MWA was far more than just even before I become a wrestler, my very first live experience with pro wrestling was the MWA show. So when I got trained, it was always told to me, you will never wrestle for the MWA.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, making it in this area. That's how you made
yes,
it.
That you're right. At that point, yes. And it was always told to me, you'll never make it to the MWA because of how you got trained, or, things like that. And that's a story for another time. And I took that as okay. Again, me, it's would you tell me I can't do something? Then, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it. And once I got there, again, the same. I started losing weight. I got myself in shape, and then better things start happening. I become the MWA World Champion for 3 fucking years, and I got to wrestle with Lawler, Samoa Joe, Cat Harris. The list could go forever, and the end of the day, it helped me go on to an IWA and be more prepared for an IWA as it would just to be jumping in from, fresh out of training. Because that IWA, it might not be where it was 20 years ago, but even then, for someone coming from Kentucky like me and a Stan Sierra, it was kind of out of our game a little bit, and we had to elevate a little bit. But without the MWA, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, and you were the MWA champion, and we talked about it. Wildcat Chris Harris,
yeah, man.
Rob the Bomb Williams, Abyss. All these guys, Tracy Smothers, people that you would watch for years, people that are huge names in the industry, they'd all held that MWA title. And, currently, if you want to see that MWA title,
it's hanging on the wall.
It is over at Legends Barn Events.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get a quick plug for Legends Barn Events.
Legends Barn Events, open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Open Wednesday, 5:30 till midnight. Thursday through Saturday is 4 p.m. till 1 a.m. Now, we have all kinds of fun there. It is crazy at times. These people love to dance. I'd love to see some more people come out and enjoy it that's never been there.
Right down from the studio that we're in now.
SkullFace Records, you got to give them a shout out. Hey. Nick and his wonderful wife up here talking to us and watching us talk silliness every week. So we greatly appreciate you guys for sure.
I love it. I love this entire thing. We do it for the fans, and we couldn't do it without Nick and his crew here at SkullFace.
SkullFace Records Radio.
Questions
to
keep
cover.
pouring in, baby.
Russ wants to know if you could work for any territory in any time, any dimension, as far as, what time frame, perfect world, you could go back to the 80s, you could go to the 90s. So Dusty Rhodes era, NWA, Austin Attitude Era. What era of wrestling would you like to be placed in if you could be placed anywhere? And, what company, what time frame, anything like that?
I would like to, if I had it my way, I would like to have wrestled in the NWA, WCW time of mid 80s, early 90s. I feel like, Dusty, like Georgia, Florida, Texas. Georgia, Florida, Texas. Let me get them. And anywhere else in between, because at that time, man, you could just, like, I've read a lot of books of where Dusty would do Georgia, and then he'd fade out, he'd go to Florida, then he'd go to Texas, he'd go to Kansas City, stuff like that, and he'd still be relevant. It's not, it's just he's going here and going there, but the thing is he'd still be relevant because he's not seen. This is before national television was a thing. It was just a territorial thing, and I feel like, back then I would love to have been in the 80s, just because, like, now you're almost like you got to have the perfect body in some people's eyes. You're not tall enough. You're not, you're too you're too fat. You're too skinny. You're not, whatever it might be. But back then, if you remember those times, man, they had just regular looking guys that were just badasses. And that,
a lot of guys that connect, it's not got anything to do with their body.
Right.
They connect to you.
Yes.
Dusty Rhodes was the everyday man, baby. Mm-hmm. Dusty Rhodes was you. He was the son of a plumber. Mm-hmm. What would the dream match between Dusty Rhodes and Larry D look like?
Shit. It'd be a bloody fucking war, I think, but I would love every minute of it. I want to wrestle in like if I died and like, okay, what would you want to do? I want to wrestle Dusty Rhodes in a fucking cage. I could just see like blood everywhere. Just I told you about switching up my look a little bit on the way on mere count of just like I fucking love Dusty Rhodes. That's stuff like that. I think that'd be perfect for me.
Well, you have that same connection. You're a hardworking man. You support your family, just like Dusty. Just need to connect that elbow against somebody. You put that fist across anybody's face. To me, it writes itself.
Yes, sir. I think that the mid 80s era would be perfect for Larry D.
Yeah, if you
I'm just almost 40 years behind, man. No big deal.
That's it, man. Anytime now, it's what's old is new again, right?
Yeah. Oh,
there's an NWA resurgence. It's coming back big. And the thing is that, never say never, right?
Man, the NWA's got a lot of cool stuff going on, really. If you think, look at that NWA Power. They've got all kinds of pay-per-views coming up. They're traveling the country. It's like, man, that's a hell of a spot to maybe want to be.
I love the old school look. I couldn't imagine being in the middle of that ring with the very simple NWA, and you look up and there's the flags.
Well, you look at like all the people that have seen those same letters, those same blue and yellow colors of like Lucas, Stings, Flairs, Harley Race, and Steamboats, and even Trevor Murdoch. Man, he's a hell of a champion. So, the NWA is that's where I would want to be. I would love to do business with them.
Would you rather hold the 10 pounds of gold, the old dusty Ric Flair NWA World Heavyweight title, or would you rather have the big gold, the Ric Flair WCW belt?
I think I would want the other. I think I would want the one like Harley Race had. That to me that's NWA. And like I think I was telling you earlier, like, man, I couldn't imagine like if I was the NWA champion, I'd walk around. I swear I'd be dressed out just like everybody in the suits and everything, because that's what it is. Like I remember any NWA world champion, as rugged as they were, they always walked into the building and they had these fucking sport coat suits on, these blazers, and they had the belt right there because that's what you're supposed to do. That's with that belt comes that honor. It's like, to me, if I were the NWA world champion, I'd have to look my very best everywhere I went. I swear, I'd be suits and ties and sunglasses, and you'd know that I was somebody, because I am somebody if I'm the NWA world's fucking champion.
That's right. Regardless of how you see the company, that name, that brand, and especially that championship, they still mean something in wrestling. I don't care who you are.
Of course not. That the heritage alone is like, man, that's somewhere I'd want to be.
So you'd rather have Dusty than Hogan in the 80s?
Yeah, well, at that time, I think Hogan's just going to beat the fuck out of me and body slam me. But Dusty, we're going to fucking fight.
That's it.
You know, I'm going to make those memorable moments of like, yeah, Hogan might body slam me. And even though Hogan was one of my big influences coming up, trust me, Dusty's right there too. But I could just picture me and Dusty having a hell of a fucking fight back in the 80s.
And I imagine that regardless what time frame, what era that they put you in,
Yeah.
that Larry D's still got that same attitude.
You know, I think
whether it's Dusty, whether it's Hogan, it's not who does Larry D wants it, it's who wants Larry D.
And I think today I could fight John Moxley all over the building the same way. You know, there's still wrestlers
Better
like
watch
that.
out if you throw challenges like that around.
Yeah.
He's hungry for blood.
But there's still wrestlers like that. My point is that there's still wrestlers out like that have that. You know, we're out here. You just got to let us fight.
You hustle, you work hard. You know, say whatever you want about John Cena. It is
man.
about that hustle, loyalty, respect, and
He's
the work
one of my
that
favorite
you put
wrestlers
in.
of all time. I swear Cena is. He does it all. In the ring, out of the ring. He's just genuinely, he just gets it. He's a good dude. He's great to have. I tell you, the WWE definitely found a gold mine there several years ago.
Hey, that is correct. Danielle wants to know, what match stands out most to you in your career ever? Like, out of every match you've ever had, which one stands out the most to you?
Gresham, because that's the one that I got to show the world that I can fucking go. Jonathan Gresham. Easily Jonathan Gresham. I think that even though I wasn't at my very best where I'm at now, that was the turncoat of like, man, this guy's got a little something here, and I got to show the world on a bigger stage. Even though it was TPI, it was the biggest stage for me, and I got to show the world that I always go back to the Jonathan Gresham match, and I suggest people go back and watch that in TPI 2017.
It's good psychology. You know, a lot of people. Yeah. Sometimes a wrestling match on the psychology and the story you tell can make the entire match. It doesn't have to be huge moves. And I love it because of the fact that he sells you. He sells you the entire time. Not like a wrestler, but like here he is. He's a guy that can do technically anything. Yes. He's been in the ring with everybody, but he is moving away from you as if you're Jason, as if you're Michael Myers, as if you're about to eat him alive.
I use that.
He's got to survive.
If you notice, I use that match every year in the camp to when we go over selling and psychology. I use that match as an example every year because I feel it's that good on his end. I feel like don't get me wrong.
Good.
You know, I humbly hold my own, you know, for where I was at that stage. But man, you really should focus on Gresham when you watch that match because he's that good.
Hayden wants to know, who are your favorite up-and-coming wrestlers or your favorite up-and-coming wrestler in the business?
Kellen Craven.
I love Kellen Craven. He says he's unchosen, but I think that's a cop-out, man, because you were chosen. You are chosen because there is no time that he's ever been in the ring and putting that work in that he doesn't connect to that crowd, and they choose him every time.
I think that he is one bigger stage away from an even bigger stage, if that makes sense. I think once he figures out his loops of like, yes, this show is important, but like this opportunity is bigger. So, you know, once he figures out where he's very young still, you know, he's very good. I think that if he can get himself on like these bigger shows mixed in with these other eager talents, you know, like I think like he and Billy Starks would have a fucking killer match. I think like he and Ace Perry would have, you know, all these guys that if he could get up in that Midwest stage, you know, of things, of these bigger shows that you see around here, I feel that he's going to find himself very successful to where even more than he probably thought. I just, you know, we every week we're always pushing bigger, more, and I think that he's ready.
He's one of those guys that he's learned the techniques, he's learned the basics, and he continues to come, and he continues to learn, and he continues to get better, and he doesn't just do it by coming. He applies it. Right. He goes to the shows, and the things that he learns from us. He's been in the ring with me, and I tell you, I told him, I said, on this night, you're going to learn that it's not about calling 100 things and going an hour and doing everything we know. We're going to connect.
That was my next point about him and being actively less than 2 years. I think that he understands when to entertain and when to push the pedal, and he's been really good here. This last 6 months is amazing to watch the growth. I can't wait to see where it's at in the next 6.
who do you think is the future of the business? Do you think, is that still your answer, or do you see anybody else out there as you travel the roads that you think like this person is one shot away? They're getting ready to turn that corner. They're going to be who we're talking about tomorrow.
Oh, I mentioned it earlier when I wanted Billy Starks. She's like 17 years old from Louisville, Kentucky. She's been in the business since she was like 13, and I'm telling you, the girl is fire. She can work with anybody, male, female. It's very impressive. The best thing that I like about the fact is that the girl ain't scared to get in the car and travel the country, while most kids her age are, going to the movies or dances or things like that nature. She's in there pounding the roads, and she's very, very good at what she's done. And she's been blessed to get so good so quick that she's already shared the ring with those that's already been on the stage. I mean, heck, she's wrestled numerous women's world champions and had heck of a matches with them. So there's no doubt in my mind that Billy Starks is. Alice Crawley is another female talent that I would like to see get out there more, kind of like what Billy's doing, because I think that they both could be very successful on the next level. And I think one day we'll see Billy Starks under big lights.
Hey, I love that. So he had a follow-up question. Who is your favorite AEW superstar and WWE superstar?
My favorite AEW superstar is Lord Crew, because I don't watch the product. I can't tell you that I've watched the first AEW show start to finish. I do know that Lord Crew's on their darks, and I know that he hustles, and I know that he's wanting a job, and I hope that he gets one. So right now, I see him on the AEW posters and the AEW flyers and stuff. I want to see him. That's my favorite AEW wrestler right now.
Tell us about Lord Crew. Tell us like your thoughts, your feelings, everything about Lord Crew. I know that that's hard to condense, but just real quick.
I think that he's hungry. I think that like guys like that who I seen at a very thin as a rail, when I first started, and he's got a kilt and like some paint on his face and like halfway knowing what's going on, to look at the individual now of the sculpted body, the hard work that he's fucking put into the gym, and the travel and the miles, and just the mere fact of loving the industry. I love the guy. I hope that he has all the success in the world, and I hope that he finds what he's looking for in it, and I'm big on Lord Crew.
The 21st, you defend your New South Heavyweight Championship against him. Is that going to be his night? Is that the night that he breaks through?
Well, there's a difference between behind this podcast mic and then when you're standing across the ring from me with boots laced up. Now I don't like you at all.
You're going to push him, ain't you?
Yeah, I'm going to push him to his limit. So I'd suggest watching that one.
Hey, I tell you what, he's very talented. I remember him coming to me while we're doing PTW.
Yeah,
he's
man.
like, I've never been in a gimmick match before. And it's like, well, yeah, you gonna start now,
right? I mean, he's super talented. He's great. He got a wonderful girlfriend, fiance, and
yeah,
she
very
does
talented.
well. She does well also in the wrestling business, and not spreading his news, but he definitely is. He's on the right track, and I couldn't be more proud of him. And I can't wait to smack him in the face on August 21st.
Hey, he hustles and goes like nobody's business, and I hope we can get into further detail. Yeah. Well, whether it's AEW, WWE, or the independents, who's somebody that it would surprise people? Like, who's that person that is like your guilty pleasure? That you see it and people are like, oh, Larry wouldn't get behind that. Who is your guy that's like, I know you wouldn't believe this, but I really like.
Oh, God. You see what you're doing here?
Hey, that's it.
You're summoning a demon.
Hey, the wrestling gods have spoken. They want some more of me, Maxx, and Mike.
Yeah, I mean, really, I don't know, man. I mean, that's a tough question,
You're very open. You're an open book. So
Yeah.
usually you'll say, hey, I like this guy,
would
whether
really
it's
have
popular
one,
or not.
I mean, Sam Beal, I feel, is one of those guys that are like a diamond, that when he gets his chance, I feel that. But I mean, as far as, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a tough one. I can't say because I don't watch the product enough, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, there's lots of up-and-comers. And
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know what? You may come back here in a week or so.
Of course.
And
You know how I
I've been
work.
watching wrestling, and
You know how I
there's this
work.
guy that
Yeah.
I really like.
Yeah, you know how I work.
So Taylor wants to know if you had to pick 5 wrestlers so for the rest of your life, you can only wrestle these 5 wrestlers, who would you choose? Who are your 5 guys?
Give me Flair. Give me Steamboat. Give me Savage. Give me Bam Bam Bigelow. Oh, that last one's tough. that last one's real tough because I've only got one spot, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to cover. Give me Mick Foley.
There you go. So now that's on the big level, but what about on the
Indies
independent level?
Oh, if I could choose 5 on the
big independents,
indies,
small independents, wherever you've been around the world, or maybe you haven't even wrestled them yet.
Yeah.
5 people you wrestle for the rest of your life.
gosh, Blake Christian,
All heart.
Alex Zane. Gosh, someone like a John Wayne Murdoch that I know I can brawl and fight with and still have a good classic wrestling match. Aaron Williams, of course.
I think you have wrestled him for the rest of your life. You guys have tore it
I
up.
can wrestle him the rest of my life. And gosh, man, I've wrestled so many people in the last 20 years. It's hard to condense down to 5 because I want to keep wrestling them all.
Yeah.
But if Scott Hayes were to come back, I could wrestle Scott Hayes 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
That's it, and you
Yeah.
would and you will.
Yeah, I will. I have.
That's it. Hey, if you're out there listening, Scott, anytime you're ready, next wrestling, we'll do it.
I would
we'll
love
sign
to do
it.
that. You know, another one guy I know we talked about and put him over, but there's going to be a day that Kellen Craven's going to catch this smoke, and I can't wait to get in there and share the ring with him, and do all that.
Hey, I've done it, and then the thing is like we ain't had to push the pedal, but there's gonna be one day that I'm gonna want to get in there and see what he's got.
Yeah, I can't wait today. I get to do it myself.
Hey, I love it. So Micah wants to know, what is the status of IWA Mid-South? And I know you can't really speak on that, and you've already talked about IWA earlier in the podcast and on other episodes. But even if you don't know the status of IWA Mid-South, maybe just talk about IWA Mid-South.
Yeah, I
and,
mean,
how
as
you
far as
feel
I know,
about it.
it's closed. You know, as far as I know, they had some money issues and some hardships, and I had seen business towards the end of it that I didn't approve, and some friends of mine that maybe got shorted or something, or they got some wrongdoings. I can't speak on that because I don't know the full details. I just know who I stand behind, and that's why I no longer did business there. Maybe one day he'll open back up. If you know Ian, you know that he's closed it down a few times, and he's came back and he's had success, and he's closed it down again. So if he does that, hopefully all the best would be for him. But to my knowledge, there is no IWA anymore, but you can go back and watch some of the footage and things like that. So, that's about it. I mean, I can't say, I think so many people talk like Ian Rotten, and then they're just all over, like, I got to shit talk him or talk bad. I can't do that. I can explain to you why I'm not there, and that I know that the place is closed as far as my understanding. As far as that goes, I can't tell you anything more. But I loved it. I mean, without IWA, I'm grateful for IWA. I'm grateful for Ian allowing me the opportunity to step on the stages that he gave me, and hopefully he's doing well.
Yeah, Micah also wanted to know, like, how you got to Impact Wrestling, which, like I told Micah, I said, hey, listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
It's going to tell you exactly how he got into Impact Wrestling. We've already talked about the road to Impact Wrestling. We're in Impact
That's
Wrestling.
why they're episodes 1, episodes 2, episodes 3 that you can go back.
Let's go back, listen to them all. I hope that we do this for the fans, and I hope they enjoy it. I hope they stay along for the journey.
Right.
His follow-up question is, how would you recommend anyone getting into Impact Wrestling?
I would recommend getting your name out there, not staying in the same area. Find the shows that have Impact stars on them, because those guys have. The good thing about Impact Wrestling is it's not like we talked. It's hard for me to get a hold of the boss and stuff like that. Even though it's hard to get a hold of the boss, you work directly with these agents that are some boys, the boys and the girls too, and they actually get to talk to the boss. So you want to impress them, on the outside, so that they can go back and do the same thing that Sammy Callahan, Abyss, Jake Christ, and all those other guys, Rich Swann, that did for me, is say, hey, so-and-so's really good. I feel like they would do good work here at Impact. And then you get on the shows, and then you look up and you might have someone like a Scott D'Amore that's on the indie booking with you, and you go out there and you get over, and then now you've got his eye. He knows your name. I remember the process with me. Don Callis didn't even know my fucking name. No idea. And then it took about a year of just constantly working these shows, these Impact Plus specials, these shows that they're combining on. And then I remember about 6 months before I got signed, I was walking down Chicago in the backstage there, and he was walking up. He usually walks right by me, never puts his, never say nothing, you know. This day he puts his hand and he slaps me on the shoulder and goes, "You got that big right hand ready to deliver somebody tonight?" And I knew then that I had somebody knows me there. The president's knowing who the fuck I am and what the fuck I can do. Keep pushing. You know, I would suggest getting out there, man. Don't stay in one place.
What is your advice to your friends, other wrestlers that you see out there, and they're plugging away? You know, they are trying to get video content out. They're trying different gimmicks, different styles. They're doing seminars. They're doing camps. They're doing everything they possibly can do, in their opinion, to get signed. What is your opinion to those guys that are out there just
I think that all
hustling?
that content's great, man. Don't get me wrong. I've always been terrible at it. But all that content's great. But look at everyone that's doing it. At the end of the day, you just got to do good work. You know, word of mouth from your peers goes much further than, you know, views on the internet or shares or all of that, which is great. But, you know, you got to have followers. You got to. There's no doubt that you've got to get people following you. You know, you're not going to impress a Scott D'Amore or someone if you're like, hey, you know, this, and they go and look at your Twitter, you've got 30 followers. So you really need to, you know, stay active on your medias. You need to create content, of course. But at the end of the day, you just got to do good work. And above all that, just be a genuinely good person. I've done everything. You know what I've done to get along in this business, but I think the thing that helped me the most is the fact that I'm genuinely a good person and that I care about people, and that, you know, people recognize that, and it's much easier to be around me. And someone like me, I would feel like that's who I would want to be around, you know, is someone that's going to motivate, push, and help. You know, I just think being a genuine good person gets you further than any amount of talent than you would have.
Yeah, that's it. And talking about that, don't forget, you got to like, share, subscribe to this video.
Yes, sir.
Hit the bell
Me, Max,
icon,
and the
and
mic.
it'll ring every single
We're gonna
time
get some
we upload
merch here
something.
soon, boy. We're
Yeah.
gonna get some merch here soon.
We got a blog. We've got this content right here. We are constantly trying to get out there to the people. I'm so excited. So, final question is, Larry D, where are you going? What's your goal? And where do you want to wind up?
Man, you know, I want to wind up right where I'm at right now. You know, I'm happy. I really am. For the first time in 20 plus years, I'm content. You know, like I think it took so long for me to be okay with wrestling where I put it, if that makes sense, where I put wrestling in my life. It is my job. But now that I have an opportunity to do other things that allows me to, you know, maybe go camping with the kids on the weekends. You know, those are all things that I had to sacrifice that I didn't get to do coming up with Delaney, Autumn, and Carter prior. And now I've worked myself into a position that I can still do okay in the wrestling business. I still make my money in the wrestling business and provide for my family, but also along that process, it allows me to not miss Annie. I mean, you know, it's tough. I can sit here and tell you what it's like being Larry D, you know, but I'll tell you, I love being Larry D, but there ain't nothing like being Larry DAD, you know.
I love it. There's a shirt right there.
Yeah, man. And like just seeing, like, with Delaney, Autumn, and Carter, I had to go to work and work 8 hours, 10 hours, and then I had to come home and they'd be on the couch, and I didn't get to see them for a split second and be back on the road. To where now it's like, man, I just felt like a piece of shit for that, even though I had to do what I had to do. And now I see this little blonde hair, sandy blonde, you know, holding my pinky, you wanting me to go put rocks in a cup, or just wants to ride down the street in a van, and man, it puts into perspective how hard we work to get what we want, you know. And like we want a full schedule. We do. I love being in the ring as much as I can, but man, I can't tell you, it just adds up zero in comparison to waking up and I'll just look over and realize that there's been a 4-year-old hogging the covers for more hours than I can count, you know. And it's changed me. It really has. It's changed me to where I know now that I miss so much and that I have little time with the teenagers before they get off to college. But I've got all the time in the world to recoup and do it, not that I didn't do it the right way with the others, but now it's like I get to enjoy what I missed. I feel like God gave me a second chance with Annie and also allowed me opportunities to help these teenagers grow into better adults, I feel. Yeah, so that 4-year-old saved me and helped me. It helped me put wrestling into perspective as a business, as more of a hobby.
Yeah, it's a new definition of making it, and I can't be the judge. I'm not the judge, but sounds like you made it, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm fighting back tears because that 4-year-old's changed me so much. Really, she has.
So that's going to bring episode 3 to a close. That's the COVID era. That's
Man.
Wrestle House. Obviously there's going to be a season 2. We talk about that later, but we move down the road now. We are heading into episode 4.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, we know for sure that somebody shot Johnny Bravo.
We have to talk about who shot Johnny Bravo.
That's it. It could be one of the most important parts of your Impact run.
Yeah.
Definitely a big story. It led to some big opportunities, big matches,
Yes.
but that's a story for next week.
I appreciate it. I can't wait to talk about it.
No problem at all. So thank you so much for listening to the show. Me, Max, and Mike, we can't do this without each and every single one of you. This right here, the podcast that is truly everything
Legendary.
We'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, share. Me, Max, and Mike, we're out. Thanks a lot.